Hello dear student, let's proceed with this video lecture, and in this video lecture we will be moving ahead of the earlier point that we have discussed about bar magnet or permanent magnet. So we know by so far we know that this is a bar magnet, and this bar magnet is having poles. This one pole is north pole, that another pole is the south pole. We have also talked about that this can be represented by a vector or by a quantity called m- magnetic dipole moment. So this magnetic dipole moment represent the bar magnet. So that's a characteristic property, and this runs from south pole towards north pole, and this M helps us to find out the magnetic field because of this bar magnet. So we have understood how to use this M to get the magnetic field because of this. So this bar magnet is creating its own magnetic field, and we also had discussion that this is a symmetric, very symmetric to the concept that we have already understood in electrostatic called electric dipole moment. So if there is electric dipole moment, that electric dipole moment which is P, it also produces electric field, and there is a similarity with this. Now we are going to talk about bar magnet present in an external field. So when this bar magnet is present in an external field, what happens? So we will be using the rules that we have learned over here. You remember we have talked about that when this electric dipole is present in an electric field, what happens? So there is rules like what is the force formula, what is the torque formula, what is the energy formula. And if you remember, we had a two case, once when this external field is uniform, another when this external field is non-uniform. Exactly same we are going to copy over here. So first case, if external magnetic field, so external, when we say external magnetic field, that means this field is coming from outside, and if this is uniform, then what happens? Then we can write all the quantities. We will say the force on the bar magnet, how much the force on the bar magnet is going to be, that's going to be 0. And how much the torque on the bar magnet is going to be, magnetic dipole moment cross the field in which that has been placed. So it's going to be M cross B. If you want to prove it, you can prove very similar to the case that we had over here. uh, we need to say that's a monopole, that's another monopole, that's a field. If you apply any field, then you'll find forces acting, then torque calculation you can do so, or otherwise you can compare them, that's also sufficient. Similarly, when we calculate this energy stored, it's going to be minus M dot B. Here what is going to be the reference location? That means when this energy is going to be least, and or we can say for reference location this energy is 0. In fact, we can find all the locations where the energy is least, maximum, or 0. So reference is theta equal to 90 degree. So theta equal to 90 degree is taken as a reference, exactly similar as was the case in this case, right? What this is trying to say is basically this. So let me draw a picture as well just to support it. So let's say this is a bar magnet, and in this bar magnet there are going to be poles, we know that. So that's basically dipole, and some field is existing. So field might be, let's say field is existing at an angle theta. So field is, let's say, like this, and it's a uniform. So you'll find if this is a field, and you will find this is going to be the bar magnet dipole moment M, and this angle is theta. So since this angle is theta, so we can do the cross product, we can do the dot product, and cross product will give us the torque. Again, the direction of torque, you can think of what the magnetic field is going to do. It's going to rotate this dipole or bar magnet in the direction of itself. So that means you will find it is going to experience a torque like this. That means this is going to reorient itself in the direction of magnetic field. So it's going to rotate like this. So the bar magnet will rotate in such a way so that it will try to align in the direction of magnetic field, and that direction can also be calculated by using m cross b or using right hand rule. Now whenever this bar magnet is going to rotate, it's going to rotate about its center of mass, because force is not acting, so center of mass will not move. So initially m direction is this, later on this m direction will be trying to orient in the direction of b. So this is going to be the rotation. Making sense? So I'm erasing these dotted lines, and this figure, this picture is trying to denote the two directions, direction of m. How we are deciding the direction of m? By orientation of this dipole or bar magnet. B is given to us, so you can think of, right, if theta becomes 0, then torque becomes 0, and if theta becomes 90, then u becomes 0. Then you can identify which one is a stable position, which one is a non-stable or unstable position, and then you know this is a restoring torque. That means if you have disturbed this in this direction, theta, from the magnetic field, so torque acts in this direction, so it's try to reorient or restore the bar magnet in the direction of magnetic field. Fine. So that's for uniform field. If the field is non-uniform, then what we are going to do? So in non-uniform magnetic field, let me write over here, if external field, which is magnetic field B, is non-uniform, then we will be writing the force is equal to, force will be non-zero then, or we can say force will not definitely be zero. So it's going to be written as m into dB by dr. So we are going to differentiate b with respect to r and multiply by m. From here we can get the magnitude, and direction we can decide based on the direction of field at those poles, because we know this pole is going to experience a force, this pole is going to experience a force, and they are going to be different. So if I draw the picture over here, so you'll find the forces will be like this. If this is a north pole, so north pole will have a m magnetic charge, and if this is a south pole, so that is going to be have minus m magnetic charge. And if the b existing, so this is going to experience a force m into b at this location. This is going to experience a force minus m into b at this location. So location dependence magnetic field is going to exist. That's why we are calculating dB upon dr and multiplying with m, so that becomes the force. However, we consider this length to be very small, so using that length to be small condition, we can say torque is going to be same, so there will be no change in writing torque. And similarly, energy will be written in this manner. Now in these last two formulas, what the magnetic field has to be written, or that means at which of which point magnetic field has to be written, because magnetic field is non-uniform, so it's varying over the space. So at which point we will be writing this magnetic field? So we will be writing this magnetic field of the point which is at the center, because all the measurements are from the center. So we will be putting the magnetic field of the center point here and of the center point here. Whereas in case of force, we do dB upon dr, because for that sake we consider field magnetic field at this location and magnetic field at this location. If they are different, then there is going to be a force. Okay, and if they are the same, then the force will be equal and opposite, and that becomes zero. That's the first case. So these are the formulas for non-uniform case, and these are the formulas for uniform case. Both you can remember. In fact, there's a similarity. Torque and potential energy remain the same. Only the force changes. In uniform case, force is always zero. Whereas in non-uniform case, it's going to be m dB by dr, which can be zero, which may not be zero, right? So that's what it is. So with this, we have covered what is a bar magnet, what is a bar magnet, how we indicate its characteristic property by magnetic moment, and this produces magnetic field. So its own magnetic field we have talked about in the previous video lecture, and in this video lecture we have talked about what happens if we place this bar magnet in an external magnetic field. So it may experience a force, it experiences a torque, it experiences or it has potential energy stored in it, right? So then after you can link this bar magnet with kinematics, dynamics, or any other thing, because you know what the force is, you know what the torque is, you know what the energy is. So you can use energy, force, torque, or all other related methods of mechanics. Now let's talk about this geomagnetism, which is also known as terrestrial magnetism. And what its importance is and what it is, we will be understanding in this particular topic. So you all must be aware of this campus needle, and you might have used it, or you must have seen the use of it. So what the use of it? It talks about what the direction of north is, what the direction of south is. So wherever you lost the direction, or you want to see which direction is what representing, so you use this compass needle, and this will be telling you the direction of north. Once you ascertain the north direction, then you can think of what rest of the four are going to be. How it operates, that we need to look at. So it's a functioning is based on the bar magnet that we have talked about already. So this is basically behaving like a bar magnet, or not bar magnet, you can say it's a permanent magnet. So a needle is basically a magnet, permanent magnet, or bar magnet, similar to that. And when we use it, of course we are on the earth surface. So in earth surface, there exists a magnetic field. So if there is a magnetic field existing, let's say this is the direction of magnetic field because of earth. So we will be seeing shortly that the earth's magnetic field is towards the north pole, or towards the north direction. So this is the direction of magnetic field on the earth's surface, and this is because of earth. So we write it as BH, H for basically horizontal, because we talk about the directions as a horizontal. So this is earth's magnetic field. And if you are placing this compass needle in any case like this, or at any location, you are presenting like this, let's say. So what it is going to represent, it's going to represent a magnetic dipole. So when there is a magnet, permanent magnet, so there is a magnetic dipole. And this magnetic dipole basically is present in this external field, which is because of the earth. And we have just talked about that there is a torque acting. So what this torque is M cross BH. So that's the torque will act on that needle. And we make this arrangement in such a way so that this needle is free to rotate about this axis. So it is hinged at the center, and it is free to rotate. That means needle can take this shape, that means it can rotate. So that's a free to rotate. And since this is free to rotate, and there's going to be torque, and the torque is in such a way that it tries to realign this magnetic dipole moment in the direction of BH. So since this is going to be the only torque, because it's so hinged, then you'll find that it's going to be rotating in this direction. And once it rotates in this direction, then ultimately comes in this direction. So this needle comes in this direction. So wherever the needle goes, we say that is the direction of north. This is how the north direction is ascertained. Once the north direction is ascertained, then we can say opposite to is the south, then on this right hand side is east, and the left hand side is west. All are at 90 degree. Okay, so all the directions we are able to identify, and this is the old technique or concept that we are using since long time to identify which one is the north direction. And the idea or the concept or the physics behind it is this, that this needle behaves like a bar magnet, so it has a magnetic dipole moment, and earth has its own magnetic field pointing towards north. So this magnetic field causes this needle this torque, and this torque causes the needle to rotate and align the needle in the direction of north. Hence the north direction is clear. Now this is what we are aware of, and what we need to go inside and watch how this BH is coming. That means how the magnetic field of earth is coming, and what it is, and how we can determine that. So that's our purpose in this particular topic. So here I have shown this picture borrowed from somewhere, and it shows magnetic field lines of Earth. So basically, Earth has its magnetic field. That's what the point was here, and that's why the term comes geomagnetism. Magnetism means magnetic field, geo means Earth. So Earth's magnetic field, which is also known as terrestrial magnetic field. Again, terrestrial means the Earth's surface. So that's the magnetic field on the Earth's surface. So if someone draw the magnetic field because of this Earth, then these are the magnetic field lines. So they are the magnetic field lines due to Earth. And if you remember the last lecture, then you can think of these field lines are very similar to the one that we have talked about called bar magnet. So basically, this Earth behaves like a bar magnet. So the old school of thought has assumed that Earth has a bar magnet fitted inside its bulge. So inside its material or inside Earth, there is a bar magnet that has been trapped, and because of that bar magnet, these field lines are coming. So how was the idea? How this idea came? First of all, this needle was behaving like this. Since needle was behaving like this, that means there must be magnetic field. Now, since this needle used everywhere on the Earth's surface, everywhere this reacted like this or behaved like this, that means BH is or Earth's magnetic field is present at all over on the Earth's surface. Hence, that means that magnetic field is not because of any other thing, that is because of Earth only. And then by plotting the magnetic field directions, this symmetry this came to similar to that of a bar magnet. Hence, scientists believe that there is a bar magnet trapped inside. And then later on, the new school of thought came and they identified no, there's no bar magnet inside because we know the internal structure of Earth, and that is a concentric spherical part, and that's core, mantle, and this crust. So there's nothing like a bar magnet. Then new thing came into picture that since this Earth is having core inside, and that core is in molten state, so that means that is in liquid state. So some material inside the Earth is in the liquid state, and that liquid state has free charged particles. Basically, if you go inside, there's a particular part, particularly outer core of the Earth. If you study that in geography, so I'm calling it the core. There are two types of core. One is inside one and another is outside. So there is still a boundary. Inside one is a solid, outside one is a liquid. So that's a liquid basically. And in this core you'll find nickel and iron. They are in majority. So iron gets charged. Nickel also has a charge. So these charged particles, when Earth rotates, so these charged particles are rotating. And once the charged particles are rotating, then you can think of what? Can you think of? That's the charge is rotating. Basically, they are becoming current carrying loop. And since there is a current carrying loop, there's going to be a magnetic field there. So they are going to be current carrying loop. So churning of or rotation of charged particle in the core causes current carrying loops, and that causes magnetic dipole moment. So from here, magnetic moment or dipole comes in, and that magnetic dipole becomes this bar magnet. And as we have talked about, there's a current carrying loop is similar to a bar magnet. Hence, this magnetic field is coming. So that's a rough thought, and in detail you will be learning if you are going in that particular specific field. So this bar magnet is not there, but yes, the field is similar to the bar magnet, and that is coming because of the churning of ions, charged particles, and that are basically nickel and iron, and that are in on the outer core, because that is in molten or liquid state. And because of this the field is coming. Now from here we have understood from where the field is coming and what type of this field is. But our purpose is to get this BH so that we can find how much the torque acted, with what angular acceleration this needle starts rotating, and all that aspect, right? So let's go a little bit more detail. So let's consider this picture for detailed understanding how these rotations and magnetic fields are coming in. So here, the obvious thing that you are aware of this, This is Earth, of course, and on this Earth, this topmost portion which is over here, this is called North Pole, and this bottommost is called South Pole, and the line passing through these two poles is called axis of rotation. That we know. That's the basic information. Now this North Pole is called basically geographic North Pole because it's coming because of geometry or geography. This is called geographic South Pole. So these are called North and South poles, but to be precise, they are geographic because there's another we also define poles another way as well. So there's another set of poles, and that has to also be understood. This is another pole, that's again North Pole, but this north is not the north of uh, geography, rather this is of magnetism, so we call it as a magnetic North Pole. So that's called magnetic North Pole. So that's a North Pole, but it's magnetic. And this is another pole called South, which is again magnetic South Pole. So there are two types of poles available. One is because of geography, so that's called geographic North-South poles, and one is because of magnetism, that's called magnetic North-South pole. So whatever the bar magnet is, that is creating these poles. So these poles are created by the bar magnet inside, or you can say the churning of the currents, or effective dipole moment that is being created inside. So if we compare it with the bar magnet, so it's going to be like this kind of bar magnet is going to be created if we replace all these churning currents in terms of bar magnet. And look at this carefully. North of this bar magnet is going to be towards this southern pole, and the south is going to be in the upside direction. Why? Because we know the magnetic field lines, they emerge from the north pole of the bar magnet and come towards from the south pole, and they move like this. And you see the magnetic field lines that have been drawn are following this pattern. Hence this must be north of the bar magnet. But on the earth's surface we call this point as a south magnetic pole, we call this as a north magnetic pole. I hope you are able to connect this. So that picture has to be understood, and once you have understood this picture, so one thing is clear, that you got to know two axes. One is because of geographic poles, another because of magnetic poles. And inside we can imagine there is a bar magnet which is equivalent to the churning of currents. Now this line that we draw over here, that means perpendicular to this pole of geographic, that's called equator or geographic equator. Similarly, there is another equator called magnetic equator. So if there is a need comes, we can also talk about these equators as well. But our main focus will be on the axis due to geography, on the axis due to magnetic poles. Now let's move ahead and try to find out the mechanism, or try to understand the idea how we are able to find the magnetic field at any point on the Earth's surface. Let's say we consider any point P on this Earth's surface, any point P on the surface, and we are here, and at this P point we want to know how much the magnetic field because of the Earth is going to be. So roughly we can say a field line must be passing through like this. So we need to see which field lines pass through this P point. So here we need to draw the tangent, or something like this. So if we draw properly, it should be some sort of this. So if we draw a tangent, if you look at it at this P point tangent, so tangent is going to be some sort of this. So that's going to be the direction of magnetic field actually. Now this direction, let me draw by another color so that's a visual, maybe this color. So this is the direction of net magnetic field. See, this at any point P, the magnetic field is not necessary on the tangential surface. It can be anywhere because it's a tangent on the magnetic field line. So that's for that what we do, we make the two component of that total magnetic field that at any point is coming. One component is tangential to the Earth's surface. Another is toward the center of Earth. So that's second component is pointing toward the center of Earth, and one component is moving to tangential to the Earth's surface. We people are found on the Earth's surface. We cannot go or move in the direction radially. Rather, we will move. We moves in the tangential direction, right? So this component is called horizontal component. So for us, this horizontal component, and this component of magnetic field is vertical component, and this is the total magnetic field. So this is how we need to understand at any point what the magnetic field is going to be. So it will have a two components, one along the surface, that's a horizontal direction, that's why we call it as a horizontal component, another toward the center of earth, that's called vertical, and the resultant is going to be total magnetic field. And how we can disconnect with using the magnetic field line. Now our purpose is or focus is to look at this particular BH, the horizontal component of magnetic field. Now this P point can be anywhere on the Earth's surface. So in order to specify the magnetic field at any point, we need to know some quantities. So these quantities collectively are known as elements of Earth's magnetic field. So we are going to talk about these elements of Earth magnetic field. And you need to understand this is more a theoretical topic, and we need to know how we are able to find the magnetic field at any location on the Earth's surface. So for that purpose, there are three elements of Earth magnetic field. And once we have understood what these three are, then we can think of, theoretically at least, that how we measure the magnetic field at any location on the Earth's surface. We will be using this figure that I have shown over here to understand these elements. So let me write the first element. So the first element is known as declination. Declination. So we need to understand what this declination is and how we can understand this and how we can measure this. This declination is indicated by angle theta or theta. So theta will be used to measure this declination or represent this declination. What it is, so let me explain this. This is a north pole we have talked about, geographic north, and we have talked about the geographic south, and there's a P point. Now let's consider these points, that means north, or you can say a geographic axis. So if we consider this entire geographic axis and we consider this P point. P point is, this is a three-dimensional picture, right? So P point can be anywhere in that three dimension. So if we consider this axis, that means one line and one point. So can you think of the plane which contains the line as well as the point? So if you can imagine an axis, or if you imagine one line and imagine one point, then you will find there will be one plane passing through that axis as well as that point. So if P is our point of interest, so what we are going to do, we are going to consider a plane that passes through geographic axis as well as the point P. So there's a plane, let me write over here, plane consisting of axis as well as point, plane having geographic axis. When we say geographic axis, that means this is a line passing through north pole as well as south pole. Geographic axis as well as P. P is a point. So from one line and one point, we can draw one plane. That plane is known as geographic meridian. Geographic meridian. So one plane we are considering, that's called geographic meridian. Similarly, we need to consider or talk about another meridian that will be known as geomagnetic meridian. So can we imagine what the geomagnetic meridian is going to be? Yes, so that will be a plane having geomagnetic axis and P, that will be known as geomagnetic meridian. So let me write that as well because that's important. So plane having or consisting of geomagnetic axis. When we say geomagnetic axis, you know that is line consisting of this geomagnetic pole, both the poles. So that's the geomagnetic axis and the point P. This is known as geomagnetic meridian. So first of all, you need to know these nomenclatures. Once you have understood these nomenclatures, then we can talk about what the declination is. Still, we are not able. I have not explained what the declination is. I have explained two planes. One plane that contains this P point that is point of interest, and this axis. Another we have talked about a plane which is containing the same point as well as the geomagnetic axis. So that's going to be three-dimensional, right? In this three-dimensional, there is going to be these two planes. Whenever there are two planes, so the two planes can either be parallel or can be intersecting. So these two planes that you are going to draw over here, they are not going to be parallel because they are containing this particular point P. So since they are containing this particular point P, so they will be intersecting each other. So whatever the angle these two planes are making, that angle is known as declination. So what the declination is, so we can say theta is, that is declination is angle between these two meridians. These two meridians. So we need to first construct a plane that contains geographic axis and point P, and then another which contains magnetic axis or geomagnetic axis and point P, and then see what the angle they are making from that angle, or that angle is known as angle theta. That's called declination. Now it's going to be a bit challenging to understand this particular picture. If you have understood this picture, life is going to be quite easy. That means you will get the entire idea. And this picture is basically the same picture that was here, but it has been drawn in a particular fashion. So let me explain what this picture is trying to say. Now this is the P point that was of interest. So P point I have drawn over here, and I have drawn such that this plane, that this line goes like this. If I produce this line, so this line goes to the center point O, or we can say C, where C refers the center of Earth. So let's say C is the center of Earth. So this line which is going from P to C is being shown by this. So this is showing the line P to C. Compare with this picture, then you will be getting it. Now remember this, we have talked about the components of magnetic field. The BV, the vertical component of magnetic field, runs from P towards C. So this is showing the value of BV. That means magnetic field which is vertical component. Right? So I'm just explaining how we are drawing this picture out of this. And if you catch it, it's going to be crystal clear then. And then there's going to be a north pole and south pole. Now all the two planes, whatever the two planes we are talking about, both the meridians are passing through this point P. So P point is a common, that's why we started with the point P. There's the logic, right? Now all of the two planes must pass through this point P. Moreover, both the axes intersect at point C. Since they intersect at point C, that means both the planes should also pass from the C point. C point you can think of here as well if you want, or you can extend, because this plane can always be extended like this. So that's not issue. So to look things more clear or simple, let's say C point is at this point. So now you will see that this PC line is going to be line of intersection. You can think of this PC line is going to be line of intersection, because P point lies on both the plane, C point lies on both the plane. So if you join a line between these 2 points, that line will also lie in both the planes. So that means this line that have been shown over here, over there, that's going to be a line of intersection of the 2 planes. So whenever the 2 planes intersect, they create a line. So we have talked about this line. Then we need to imagine the 2 planes that we are talking about. Now one plane will pass through these 2 points or this line, as well as the north and south of geography. So let's say geographic north is somewhere there. So that's a geographic north. If this is a geographic north, so if you join this geographic north to this point C and cross this way, so you'll find somewhere there's geographic south, right? So let's say this geographic north is on the plane of this whiteboard, then geographic south is going to be in the plane of whiteboard, so that will be the axis that we were talking about, and this is going to be the point P that we are talking about. So this entire white plane board, or this board or screen is going to that will become the one plane, and that plane will become this geomagnetic meridian. Making sense? So here this north is somewhere here. I'm erasing these dotted lines, and this plane which has been shown by dark color, and that's going to be, we have like geographic meridian. Making sense? So this dark colored plane is the plane on the screen. Then we need to see where this another poles are existing. So let's say magnetic north pole is somewhere outside. That means by turning certain angle, that means coming outside this plane, or the screen. So if you are turning there, if you are getting this north here, so you might get the magnetic south into the screen somewhere backside. So there's going to be a plane that you can imagine, which is connecting this magnetic north with this axis is going to be again common. So this white that have been drawn over here, this white plane is indicating another meridian, that is magnetic meridian. So here I have tried to explain two planes. One is this, another is this white one, and these two planes are inclined at an angle. So this is the angle between these two planes, and this angle is known as theta. That's called declination. So declination is basically angle between two meridians. One is geographical meridian, another is magnetic meridian. And once you have understood this theta, so that means one element out of three for Earth magnetic field we have understood. And if we got to know about all the three elements, then we will be able to find out the magnetic field of Earth at any location, at least conceptually or theoretically. Okay, so let's talk about the next magnetic element. So next element is known as inclination or dip, and it is denoted by del. So this del is indicating the dip or inclination. Now let's consider the same figure back, and in this figure we have understood that this plane, which is some dark color, is geographic meridian, and the one which is of this white color is a magnetic meridian, and we have understood that this angle is angle of this is declination, that is theta. Now we have defined this magnetic meridian because of a purpose. Whatever the magnetic field is going to be because of Earth, that is always on the plane of this magnetic meridian. So net magnetic field exists in the magnetic meridian. So this magnetic meridian will let us know where the magnetic field is. The magnetic field will be in this plane. So let's say the net magnetic field that we were talking about is in this plane, and this is the net magnetic field. So if this is the net magnetic field that is in the plane of magnetic meridian, we can go forward and define what this inclination or dip is. Here we are moving some sort of backwards. Ultimately we need to find what this B is. Okay, and what we have ensured that this B is going to be in the magnetic meridian. That's how we have defined this magnetic meridian. And now we are going to find out this dip or inclination. Then we will reverse this process. If we know this inclination or dip, we can find out this magnetic field exactly where it is located. Now what else we have understood till now, that this geographical meridian is known to us. Out of this geographical meridian we need to move by angle theta to get the magnetic meridian. So if geographic meridian is known to us, we can reach to magnetic meridian once the theta is known to us. And once theta is known to us, we have reached to this magnetic meridian. Now in this magnetic meridian we will be talking about inclination or dip. Now this angle is said to be this inclination or dip. How we are going to define that? This P point was clear. This is magnetic north, which is clear. So we can join the P point with the magnetic north. So if we join the P point with the magnetic north, that's called horizontal direction. So this is going to become horizontal direction. Horizontal. Because we know this is a vertical direction. Since this is a vertical direction, So horizontal direction is going to be perpendicular to this and towards pole. So that's a horizontal component, and that's a vertical component. This is a vertical, isn't it? Now, we will define this inclination or dip as the angle made by the resultant magnetic field at any point P with the horizontal direction. So if the angle made by the net magnetic field with the horizontal direction is del, so this del is going to be known as inclination. Okay, so let me write this definition. This is going to be written as angle made by resultant magnetic field. I'm writing B. B is the resultant magnetic field of Earth from horizontal direction. From horizontal direction. And how we are creating this horizontal direction? For that, you need to think about, you join that P point where you are standing to the magnetic north. So that becomes horizontal direction. So that's from horizontal direction, whatever the angle magnetic resultant magnetic field of Earth makes, that's called inclination or dip. So that's del, which has been shown over here. So once you have understood theta and del, we are very close to find what the B is going to be. So there's a third definition or element which is also required for us, is the horizontal magnetic field. So third is horizontal magnetic field of Earth. We write it as a BH, horizontal component of, basically this is a horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So this is also one of the basic element of this Earth's magnetism. So we need to also know about this thing. And then we will be doing the reverse calculation, we will be finding it out as well. So since this is a horizontal direction, so a component in the direction of horizontal is going to be known as BS. So this component of magnetic field is called horizontal component. So this BH, this is BV, and this is BH, and that's a B. So all the three, that means vector and its two component are visible here. So that BH can be found out. So it's a horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. It's a horizontal component. Horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field, net magnetic field of Earth. So these three are called element of Earth's magnetism, and if we know all these three, we can find what the B is going to be, or we can have a reverse calculation, whatever is needed. Now how we can make those equations? Now let's make some important equations that are going to be very useful for us. And what we have understood, let me quickly re-explain. At any point on the Earth's surface, we are interested to know what the magnetic field is. What we need to do, we need to join with the center and draw the vertical line, and then create a geographical meridian, then use the declination to reach to the magnetic meridian. Once we are in the magnetic meridian, there will be horizontal component direction that will be visible to us. Then from that horizontal direction, we will be moving this inclination downside. We will be reaching to the magnetic field, and this magnetic field exists in the plane of magnetic meridian that we know. So these are concepts that we have just understood. Now, since this is B, this is BH, this is BV, we can have a relation between them because these are the components. So can we make some relations like this? BH, the horizontal component of magnetic field, is nothing but it's going to be B into cos del. And the second, we can say the vertical component of magnetic field of the Earth is going to be total magnetic field into sine del. So if dip is known to us, we can make these relations. Moreover, we can divide them, and we can also find tan del. If you are interested in this tan del, then you are going to get this tan del value is going to be vertical component divided by horizontal component. So this is how we can relate components with this. Moreover, we can say what the total magnetic field is going to be. This is going to be under root BH square plus bv square, because these are the vectors, so we can use all the properties of vectors that we know. Making sense? So let me finally say how these elements definition helps us to find out the magnetic field at any location P. So first we will be using this declination to reach to the magnetic meridian. So reaching to the magnetic meridian is very important because there's a 3 dimensions, so we need to first catch the plane on which the net magnetic field lies. So theta or declination used for that purpose. Then we can use this, and if you use this, from this we can say the net magnetic field is going to be equal to the horizontal component of magnetic field divided by cos dip or del. Now then first we have used this declination to reach to this magnetic meridian. Now we will be using this dip del, and we will be using the third element, which is BH. So if we know BH, if we know del, then we can find what the magnetic field in nutshell is. So this is how we can find the magnetic field's magnitude in nutshell. We can also find its direction. See the direction from the figure, go by the theta angle from the geographical meridian, then reach to this horizontal direction, then bend by again del angle, you will get the direction of magnetic field. So this is how we can get the direction of magnetic field. This is going to give us the magnetic field magnitude if we know all the three elements of Earth's magnetic field. So this is basic about Earth's magnetism, and this is a part of the syllabus theoretical aspect, so you need to keep that in mind. Numerical questions will be very simple, like they will give you del and they will give you BH. You can be asked about B or BB or whatsoever. Okay, but this is going to be useful in the next upcoming video, that will be in that which we will be discussing about or learning about magnetic instruments. Just like we had a couple of electrical instruments, there are magnetic instruments as well. So in those applications or those instruments, the Earth's magnetic field is going to play very important role. So make notes, and if there are any doubt, you can always ask. That's all for this video. Thank you everyone.